For the last 4 years, coincidentally lining up with the Biden-Harris regime, for the last 4 years, it has made sense to a whole bunch of Americans to move their wealth or their retirement over to physical precious metals. This is a good thing. Okay, and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just telling you that it's happening. A lot of Americans are doing it, and they know why they're doing it. Between de-dollarization, inflation, the potential for recession, everything that's going on, the turmoil that's going to come with the presidential election, regardless of who wins, by the way, there's going to be economic turmoil before, during, and after the election. We know this. This is coming. So a lot of people are trying to find the higher ground of physical precious metals. The challenge there is that not all gold companies are made the same. Look, I know that you might seem like they are. It seems like, everybody's got their conservative commentators that promote them. The difference between me and these other conservative commentators and show hosts and whatever is that I actually did my research. And unfortunately, I've come to the conclusion that the other ones could not have, because if they did, many of them, not 100%, but a lot of them, if they did their research, if they knew exactly what they were promoting, there was no way they would touch these companies with a 10-foot pole. A lot of these companies are promoting their gold and silver, but they're doing so at huge markups. I mean, we're talking sometimes over 100% markup on the gold and silver they're putting into gold IRAs. I work with a faith-driven company, Genesis Gold Group, and they do not charge enormous premiums on top of the gold in order to get you your $10,000 in free silver or whatever gimmick is being pushed. They just deal with you directly, honestly, from a faith-driven perspective. This is the only company I've ever seen in the industry that actually will sit there and pray with you. So check them out. See if they can help you. Go to rumblegold.com, and see what Genesis Gold Group can do for you today. You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. It's pretty clear that I don't like Kamala Harris. And chances are, if you're watching my show, neither do you. But as much as I dislike Kamala Harris, I am not going to take the bait and blame her exclusively, or even give her the majority of the blame when it comes to the failed FEMA response, and we'll just call it the entire federal government's failed response to Hurricane Helene. That's the popular approach is to blame them. Okay, we're in the middle of an election. There's a month left. And so, of course, we want to blame the opponent, and we want her to lose. And so here's a disaster. She's given away $750. We've heard about that ad nauseum. We keep hearing about how she's giving away money to Lebanon. The whole regime is giving away money to Ukraine every other day, and illegal aliens are getting tons of money. But of course, the poor people of North Carolina, Asheville in particular, and small towns around the area, plus other states, they're being dramatically and very much detrimentally affected. There's likely, I've heard estimates, they're saying now about 300 dead. I've heard estimates of well over 2,000 dead. And I've heard some rumors of entire towns losing populations in the thousands in multiple towns. So, yeah, there's obviously something really, really bad happening here. But the majority of the blame does not fall on government in this particular case. I mean, you could say it does, and you wouldn't be totally wrong. When it comes to accountability, we have certain aspects of American society that keep us running, right? We can't trust government. I don't care who it is, okay? You want to trust Trump 100%? Don't. He gets it wrong sometimes. Don't forget, Trump is the guy that pushed pretty hard for the bump stock ban. And that's just one of the items that he's done in the past that I've had objections with. Maybe there's other things that you've had objections to. Nobody is 100%. Now, Trump is as close to 100% as I've seen in a politician maybe in my entire life. So there's that. But let's just take into account that no matter how much we like somebody, they're going to do things that are wrong. And no matter how much we dislike somebody, there's going to be the occasion where they get something right. But in our society, as a people-driven society. We're not a government-driven society. We should be. This is about we the people, right? We are a constitutional republic, contrary to what they like to say. Oh, save the democracy. We're not a democracy, and praise God for that, because if we were, we would fall into the same type of tyranny that past democracies have always fallen to. That is just, when you can control and manipulate the people to the point that you can assign a majority to pretty much whatever stance you want based upon propaganda, for example. And that's just one way to do it. Or just flat out cheating. That's another way to do it. If you don't have a constitutional republic, you run a risk. But that's a discussion for another day. We're talking about Helene here. And I would argue that the primary culprit, the reason that the people of Helene are suffering so much is the government? Yes. But there's a reason that they're allowed to fail. There's a reason that they're allowed to ignore. And that is a corporate media. Corporate media should be assigned the vast majority of blame because this is their job. Okay, government is supposed to do a billion other things. I wish they didn't. I wish they only did like 5 or 6 things and that's it, and just leave us the hell alone otherwise. But they don't. They have this humongous bureaucratic state. They have all of these aspects of government that they're supposed to take care of. They do what they're supposed to do based upon what will get them either in trouble or get them kudos. That's it. They're like dogs, Pavlovian dogs. I mean, they respond to stimuli. They respond to how the people are going to feel. And here's the thing. You and I might be weeping for, praying for, oftentimes even helping the people who are currently being affected in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. But government officials, generally speaking, are not. They're not affected. They're not getting asked questions. They're not getting pummeled by the press. Why not? Well, because, of course, that goes against the narrative. The narrative right now for the press, for the corporate media side of the press, is to promote Kamala Harris no matter what. Even if it means people literally dying, which right now, that's exactly what it means. They're not doing their job. If they were to press government, if they were to press Kamala, if they were to press Joe Biden, if they were to press Karine Jean-Pierre, and I'm not talking about the occasional story. I'm talking about, or even question, I'm talking about a full-blown press. Think back to Katrina. This was under George W. Bush, of course, a Republican. During his time with Katrina, you had people on the ground for every news organization in the nation. They were covering everything. They were getting the stories. They were putting microphones in front of people. They were getting coverage at a time when it was far more difficult back then. This was before drones, before all this other stuff. They were on top of that story because they hated George W. Bush. Now, they never hated George W. Bush as much as they hate Trump. But they did hate him, and they hated him enough to try to expose FEMA, to try to expose the disasters in Louisiana, in New Orleans, and most importantly, to expose George W. Bush. Fast forward to today, and they are doing everything they can to not expose Joe Biden, to not expose FEMA, and most importantly, to not expose Kamala Harris. They are to blame. If they would send a smidgen of the response to the areas affected in and around North Carolina, if they were to just put 10% of the effort that they put into Katrina, then it would blow up. People would be aware. Right now, unfortunately, vast majority of the people that surround you, they might have heard some bad things that are happening in North Carolina, but for the most part, they got their head in the sand. They're being told, focus on this, focus on that, focus on something else, focus on something else. Don't look at what's happening over there. Don't worry. It's under control. There's only, the storm's over, nothing to see here. Just go about your business. Vast majority of the people that you know, other than the ones who are actually watching, for example, alternative or the occasional conservative media sources, they have no idea what's going on. None. And that's because of corporate media. If they knew, if there was any chance of blowback on Kamala Harris, then the response would be instantaneous. They would move mountains to fix the problems. In North Carolina, FEMA would all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we're out of money. Oh, no, wait, don't worry. We just printed $100 billion to get this fixed because that's what we're going to do. That's what's important for the American people. It behooves them to do this. It behooves them to have a strong response. But they don't. Because they had a choice. We could either, they got into a room, they saw what was happening, they thought we could have a strong response, but we're still not going to get credit. And you look around and you know what? The people that are affected, it's mostly Republican areas. I'm just saying, what if we just said everything was fine? We don't have any money. We're going to help them out every way we can. We'll post some tweets every now and then. Get some photo ops in there. Send Kamala in. Send Tim. No, don't send Tim. Just send Kamala in to. You know what? Let's get her in like a volunteer staff. Like she'll be sitting there and she'll be putting things into bags and cackling, and it'll be great. And it's like, hey, she's actually doing stuff. Trump's over there just trying to get Starlink for the people that are suffering. He's over there just trying to actually get donations and helicopters and stuff to help these people. But is he putting deodorant packets in plastic bags? Because Kamala's doing that. But they don't care. Because they control mainstream media. They control corporate media. And they can put out whatever narrative they want. And right now the narrative is nothing to see here. It's all under control. Focus on something else. And so, government, the Biden-Harris regime, FEMA, they don't have to do anything at all. There's no risk of exposure for them. To us, we're like, oh my gosh, but Twitter's blowing up about it. Elon Musk is upset, and Breitbart's talking about it, and Gateway Pundit's talking about it. We like to live in this, like, I guess I don't want to say delusional because it's kind of harsh, but it's delusional. We live in this delusional bubble where we think, oh my gosh, everybody's got to know about this because all these big, huge conservative sites are talking about it. Fox News is interviewing people. Corey Mills is going out there. Glenn Beck is going out there. Tucker Carlson's talking. Don't worry. Help is on the way. We're going to blow this wide open. And we don't realize that this huge response from conservative and alternative media, this massive viral moments that are happening on Twitter, we're reaching about 6-7% maybe of the population, and that 6 or 7% that are being reached, they're already voting for Trump. So Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the puppet masters amongst the global elite cabal and their lapdogs in corporate media, they all got together and they said, we could work really hard and we're probably not going to get any benefit from it, or we can do nothing and we're probably not going to get any blowback from it. Not any real blowback. Nothing that's going to actually affect us. As a matter of fact, you know what? Stop and think about it for a second. If we don't do anything and there's like disasters and bodies mountain and as long as we can keep that part covered up as much as possible, we can, if we actually hold back on the aid, hold on, wait a second, I got something. If we do that, then yes, that's going to work. If we do that, then people like Glenn Beck and Tucker Carlson and JD Rucker and Gateway Pundit and the Epoch Times, and they're going to be so focused on trying to save American citizens' lives that they're not going to notice what we're doing. They're not going to be talking about the election that we're stealing. This is wonderful. We need to get another storm going. Can somebody call DARPA and get a couple more storms going between now and the election? This could be great. This could be all the cover. Who needs a pandemic? Cancel Plandemic 2.0. We got this covered. We got this covered. I'm being facetious, but I'm almost not. I hate to say it, but I don't know if I'm far off from the truth. And that's both infuriating and terrifying at the same time. Because it demonstrates, number one, that no matter how much we hate government, no matter how much we hate corporate media, we hate neither of them enough. And number two, no matter how much we think we're getting the word out and exposing people to the truth, we're just not. Not to the extent that we need to. It's going to be a good show today. I promise. Big shout out to my my wonderful, amazing, absolutely amazing friends. just the best possible sponsor friends you could ever have over at genesisgoldgroup.com. I talk to these guys every day, and they have been blowing my mind lately with the stuff that they're doing. You can learn more about this faith-driven precious metals company that specializes in helping people to defend their retirement, their life savings, by going to rumblegold.com. Check it out. Request their wealth protection kit, brand new for 2025. And and let's try to have a better time in the future than we are today. I know that the prospects of that seem kind of low, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we've got some good times coming. I'm hopeful that there's still some good days left for the good old United States of America. All right, I want you to think back to 2016 campaign, 2020 campaigns. What's different? What was the transition there? I'm asking you, but I'm just going to tell you. So 2016 was all about negatives about Trump. Okay, Access Hollywood, John Barron, stuff about Melania, and the John McCain. He likes his heroes not getting captured or whatever. I mean, there was just scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal. And praise God, he was running against Hillary Clinton, who just happened to have more scandals. And they couldn't really hide those. At least they didn't even try nearly as much. They realized after Trump won, they thought, oh my gosh, we didn't do enough. We just didn't do enough. We got to do more. And so they got with big tech. They got with everybody they could find, Zuckerberg and Google and everybody, plus all the big news corporations, and they decided, you know what, this time for the next 4 years, we're going to destroy Trump. We're going to try to get him impeached as quickly as possible. We're going to try to get him. We're going to hammer him so hard that he's going to wish he never won. We're going to just destroy this man. So let's get to it. And then you fast forward and come around 2020 election time. There was a combination of things. It wasn't just amplify any negatives they could find about Trump. They kind of already did that, and Russia didn't work out very well for them. And then, the impeachments, they kept having impeachments, at least, the one major impeachment before the election. But, they continued to do that, but they also added a new wrinkle. And this started around the time when Joe Biden looked like he was going to be out, okay? Joe Biden was selected. He was selected early on during the primary process. He really was, because they knew that he was by far the most corrupt, the most corrupted, the most controllable of all the candidates. They definitely didn't want Bernie. They gave a shot. They sort of tried it with Michael Bloomberg. He failed miserably. He was just awful. So they're like, nah, he's not going to work. We got Buttigieg. He's a dweeb. We can't deal with him. Klobuchar, we don't like her. Elizabeth, what? No. I guess it's Joe. All right. So let's just go with Joe. Joe's the most compromised man to ever walk inside of the city of Washington, D.C. I mean, everybody and their dog has dirt on him, so let's just go ahead and we'll use him. So he was selected early on. And they said, there's a problem, though. Dude's got dementia. We started seeing the dementia early. Early. I'm talking 2019. We started seeing the dementia popping up. I started talking about it. A lot of people started talking about it. We were comparing him to his 2016 speech at the Democrat National Convention. That was Joe Biden. That was the real Joe Biden. He was actually kind of good. I mean, in a Joe Biden sort of way. He had his faculties. He had his mental acuity. He was sharp. Again, as sharp as Joe Biden could possibly be. But we started noticing in 2019 that he was already starting to lose his marbles. So that's when they started the basement strategy with him. They got him out there, but then they sort of pulled back. They tried to minimize the damage. They, right ahead of Super Tuesday, he was doing poorly, awful in all the primaries. South Carolina, he ends up doing pretty well. And it's like, okay, we got Super Tuesday coming up. Let's get rid of, we're not going to be able to get rid of Bernie. We're going to have to beat Bernie. And the only way we can beat Bernie is if we get rid of a couple of the more mainstream Democrats. So get Buttigieg on the line, get Klobuchar on the line. Let's get them out ahead of Super Tuesday, even though it didn't make any sense for either of them because they were both doing far better than Joe Biden was. But still. It's like, yeah, you know what? Cut him a deal, make threats, whatever you need to do. Let's get Joe Biden in there. So they did. And so they engaged in the cover-up. So 2016, it's all about amplifying negatives about Trump. But then they learned their lesson. They didn't suppress the negatives about Hillary. So they decided, we're going to get into the suppression game. We're going to cover up everything that could possibly hurt Joe while simultaneously amplifying anything that could hurt Trump. Okay? So then that continued. Basement campaign, keep Joe off the campaign trail. Just keep Joe from talking to anybody. The less he talks, the better he is. Every time he talks, he says something stupid like if you have a question about who you're going to vote for, then you ain't black. Dumb statement. Don't even get me started, but whatever. And then, of course, the laptop hits in October. 4 years ago, right around now. As a matter of fact, we're approximately, a week away from when the laptop story would have broken, or did break, but then got suppressed. And they all looked at, once the laptop story was coming out, it's like, it's go time, okay? Launch Operation Cover Up, and Facebook and Twitter and corporate media and everybody, it's like, okay, we got to get the intelligence community to debunk it, let's find some people to sign letters saying, what are we going to go with? Russian disinformation. All right, put it down. So started pushing Russian disinformation, and then it disappeared. It was a successful operation, a successful psyop, and now they're engaged in the exact same thing. I'm getting to a point here, believe it or not. They're engaged in the exact same thing, and it's not just with FEMA, okay? FEMA is the biggest one right now, but it's been across the board. There have been many, many, many scandals. Little, big, doesn't matter. They won't cover. We saw over the weekend. If you haven't seen this video, I wish I had it on me. If you haven't seen this video, you got to find where Kamala Harris, where her teleprompter breaks. I thought that Barack Obama was bad when his teleprompter broke. That's nothing compared to Kamala Harris. Okay, I learned, and maybe I should have known already, but I learned that as much as I thought that she was an idiot, I was wrong. She is a total moron. Okay, like she literally, all she can do is read words that somebody else writes for her. That's it. She doesn't have a unique thought of her own at all. She is so, I couldn't imagine what world leaders will be thinking if they're talking to her. And it's like dumb, dumber, and then dumbest. It's awful. She's like, 32 days, y'all. That's what we got. 32 days left. And then she looks at the teleprompter and it's broken. And you can see the blood rushing from her face, and she's kind of, maybe it'll come back on. It's not coming back on. What the heck do I do now? All right, just say something. 32 days. We just got 32 days. It's just 32 days. And that's all we got. And it's going to be, you know what? We got business to do here, guys. We got to get down to business. And it's going to be a close race all the way to the end. And so we need to work together to try to bring everything, around. And we got a lot of work to do. And we're the underdogs. Trump's got. We just got 32 days, and it was just like, whoa. No matter how unprepared for the office of President of the United States I thought that she was, I was wrong. Okay? I would seriously rather find a highly qualified middle manager at a fast food joint. They are better qualified, better prepared to be President of the United States than Kamala Harris. That is not like some, oh yeah, right. No. Seriously. Okay. With the right support staff, good decision-making abilities, they'll be fine. Okay. You bring them up to speed on the fly. Kamala Harris can't be brought up to speed. She's been in the White House for 4 years, and she can't handle a campaign speech without a teleprompter. We saw by the way, and this also covered up by corporate media. We saw how she was like, let's give this great interview, and there was a still image, a couple still images. I think there was actually a video. No, there was a video too, showing kind of her interviews, but from a different angle. And Even in interviews, she had a teleprompter. I mean, if that was Trump, okay, that's blown up everywhere. That's the biggest news of all time as far as ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC. As far as they're concerned, if they saw Trump or JD Vance or any Republican reading from a teleprompter during an interview, oh my gosh, they would be calling for the death penalty in the press. They would be like how in the world is this even possible? Is this real life? You can't do that. That's like the worst sin possibly imaginable. And then Kamala does, and it's like, what? Kamala did what? Oh, no. We'll get the fact checkers on that. We'll get back with you. Estimated time of arrival, December. No matter how much you hate corporate media, you don't hate them enough. There's an article over at AmericanGreatness.com, amgreatness.com, which is short for American Greatness, by Roger Kimball, the great Roger Kimball. The propaganda press at work shielding Doug Emhoff and FEMA's failures. I want to focus a little bit on this because here's the thing. FEMA's the big story. I've talked about the little stories. What about the in-between stories? Doug Emhoff is the in-between story. That's a big story, okay? Remember, believe all women unless they accuse a Democrat. That's the unfortunate reality. If they accuse a Democrat, if it's Tara Reade accusing Joe Biden, if it's Ellison up in Minnesota getting accused, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how credible it was. And these accusations are definitely credible. Let's read some of this. It's a long article. I'll leave it in the show notes. You should read it. It's good stuff. If you've been awake these last several days, you will know all about how the aspiring first gentleman, Doug Emhoff, publicly slapped a former girlfriend so hard she spun around. I believe, but I'm not sure of the chronology, that was after Emhoff inseminated the nanny he and his former wife had engaged to, well, possibly to help him in his task of redefining masculinity. Let us draw a veil. It is impossible to distribute air sickness bags through the internet, and I do not want my readers left with so nauseating a spectacle as Kamala Harris's repulsive husband. I realize, though, that should you be so unfortunate as to acquire your news from the propaganda press, from the New York Times or the Washington Post or from CNN, MSNBC, or other legacy media outlets, it is doubtful that you will have come across the true story of Emhoff. The reason is that telling that story would violate the narrative. The narrative, and the propaganda press exists to support whatever that narrative happens to be today, the narrative du jour, if you will. As an aside, I've often wondered where the scribes and pundits that staff the ranks of the propaganda press go to get their daily marching orders about the narrative. And that's a good question. I don't know how, do they get the, we always make the joke, they got the memo. What do they actually get? Is there like a text trail? Is there a signal group? Is there a couple Telegram rooms? I don't know. But it does seem like they're pretty much in lockstep within moments after a story breaks. They know exactly what to say, how to say it, and it's never been exposed. Perhaps somebody will expose it. And if they do, they can always reach out to me and send me the proof. You can always go to James O'Keefe, too. I think he does some of that undercover video stuff. But if you want to send it to me, you can always go to jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk. But I digress. Let's jump ahead here. However it happens, however they're able to get their stories coordinated, the propaganda press is always au courant. Had Doug Emhoff been a Republican, you can be sure a detailed chronicle of his misdeeds would be swelling the news cycle like a distended corpse. Cast your mind back to what the media did to Mitt Romney, of all people, when he had the temerity to run against the chosen one in 2008. And actually, that was actually 2012, Mr. Kimball. But whatever. He picked on a kid in high school. Oh, the horror. Oh, and he rode to a summer vacation spot with his dog on the roof of his car, which, to be fair, was pretty bad. Not so much what he did. That's bad. That's, whatever. But the fact that he talked about it and admitted it, come on. Mitt, you idiot. But then again, had Mitt Romney won, chances are we would never have had Trump. Just saying. Not saying. Just saying. course, that was a small beer compared to the disgusting fury that was unleashed against Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearings in 2019. Those looking for the origin story of this partisan smear machine often induced the campaign against Judge Robert Bork. I remember that vividly. Ted Kennedy, amongst others, going after him. It was probably the first time between that and then fast forward to what was sort of happening with the Clinton. If it wasn't for, I hate to say it, but if it wasn't for Matt Drudge, then we might not have known much about that. And then fast forward again to, of course, Katrina. That was, we got to see like snippets, examples of the combination of Democrat politicians combining with corporate media to perform the narrative. That was nothing compared to what happened in 2016 and beyond, but it's still, we saw the formative years of all that stuff happening. Okay, so first, we're almost there. First, notwithstanding the efforts of the propaganda press to keep a lid on the facts, it is now widely known that FEMA, the chief federal agency in charge of responding to such disasters, has failed miserably. What initially sparked public outrage, was Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' statement that, sorry, but the agency was out of money. He'd love to help, but the funds were not there. That was quickly followed by the news that over the last 18 months or so, the Biden-Harris administration had spent some $1.4 billion to house, tend, and cater to illegal migrants. And how many billions have been shipped off to Ukraine, I ask? Hundreds of thousands of those migrants were salted around the country, especially to vulnerable counties in red states where they were provided with cash stipends and housing at taxpayer expense. I note that Mayorkas, as head of the HSS, is also in charge under the border czar Kamala Harris of that porous figment, the southern border. News that FEMA had plenty of money for migrants, but none for the citizens of North Carolina and Tennessee was met with rage, especially as horrific stories of the destruction caused by Hurricane Helene piled up. However, and this is the important part, that fury was tamed compared to the response to the news that not only was FEMA inert, but also that it was actively hampering private efforts to aid those in distress. Probably the most high-profile such story came from Elon Musk, who described in several posts on X how his efforts to bring Starlink terminals to those without internet were being actively hampered by FEMA. SpaceX engineers, he wrote in one post, are trying to deliver Starlink terminals and supplies to devastated areas in North Carolina right now, and FEMA is both failing to help and won't let others help. This is unconscionable. We've seen report after report all saying the same thing. At first, they decided not to help. Now, they are blocking people from helping. Criminal. It is criminal. It is absolutely criminal. It is infuriating, and people have been talking about it now all weekend. Parts of last week, they'll be talking about it again this week. I'm not going to continue down that road other than to say this. We have to remember that we are in a bubble. We are in an echo chamber. We might think that if Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones and Dan Bongino and Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. and a bunch of people go on X and start talking about this, that all of a sudden everybody in America is going to know, and they just won't. The only way that they're going to find out the truth about what FEMA is doing, the truth about what's happening in North Carolina, Tennessee, and other states, the truth about Doug Emhoff or any of this stuff, the only way that's ever going to happen for the vast majority of Americans is if you tell them. And I'm not just talking, I'm going to say, oh, it's all up to you. Only you can stop forest fires. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we need the masses to enact this. We cannot just trust that people are paying attention, especially independent and Democrat voters who might be vulnerable, who might not want to vote for Kamala Harris. They need to be given more reasons to say, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily like Trump, but I'm going to vote for him because he's not a mess. He's not a disaster. And these guys, they are. Maybe I'll vote for a Democrat in the future as long as it's not Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. But for right now, I'm not voting for either of them. I've got to vote for Trump. That's what we want to get to. There are people that are going to vote for Trump no matter what, and there are people that are going to vote for Kamala Harris no matter what. And then there are the illegal aliens who fall under that second category as well. So we've got a lot of making up to do. And the best way that you and I can help is not just by getting out there and going on X and getting in our little echo chambers where it's just a bunch of Trump supporters saying, oh yeah, this is an outrage. We need to get this out in front of Aunt Susie or Cashier Bob, people that you work with, people that you're neighbors with, people that you talk to, people that you don't talk to. They need to be exposed to this truth. You might say, well, how in the world can, come on, sit down, Bob. I want to talk to you about FEMA. It's not, I don't know how the conversations start. All I know is that the conversations have to be had. I know I'm grasping at straws here. I'm reaching for something, and I don't know what that is because I don't know the solution. I just know that the odds are stacked against us, and we have to fight. As Trump would say, fight, fight, fight. And to me, it starts with getting out of the vote. But it also, I've mentioned this in the past few shows, we have to fight the propaganda. And the only way we can fight the propaganda is hand to hand. Spreading the word, sharing the story, sharing the truth. And it's not just about going on X or Facebook or Instagram or wherever it is that you go, or hopefully you don't go anywhere because, I wouldn't go any of these places if it wasn't because I have to professionally. I would dump my X account in a heartbeat, no offense, Elon Musk. I don't care about that stuff, but I need it because I'm in the news. So if I were given $10 million, I assure you, you would never hear from me on X. I'd still do my show, but that's about it. And if anybody watched it, great. And if they didn't, great. I won't care. I want to do what I can. And if that were the situation, if I had $10 million in the bank, there's a lot of other things that I could do to help that have nothing to do with me throwing on a suit and talking to you all. But this is what, since I don't have $10 million, this is the best I can do. The best you can do is to get tactical. Hand-to-hand combat. Talk to Bob. Talk to Sarah. Talk to anybody that you can. Share the story. Share the truth. If we do that, Lord willing, we will come out on top. Let's go to a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk about other stuff. So stay tuned. There are a few companies out there that can help you to get long-term storage meds. It's something that they don't talk about nearly enough, I don't think. I know that obviously you and my audience, you are preparedness-minded, survival-minded. You have, whether you're a full-blown prepper or you're just, let's keep a few supplies just in case. You fall into the category of at least wanting to be self-sufficient, at the very least. That's why my good friends over at Jace are amazing. You can always use promo code Rucker10 to get $10 off your order. Go to jdrucker.com/meds. That's jdrucker.com/meds. And let's pull them up, actually. So their play is a strong one. They offer emergency medications, 28 medications such as ivermectin, antibiotics, anti-malaria meds, just in case you're ever going to Africa, I guess, EpiPens, and more. They also have prescription supplies, and you get all this stuff through telehealth, so it's not like you got to go to your doctor and get it checked out and stuff like this. They offer these things through the mail. You get it mailed to you. It's awesome. Just good stuff. So again, check it out. See if there's something there that you need. I do strongly recommend, just in case you never know when the pharmaceutical supply chain is going to go under or over or whatever. You never know when your pharmacies are just not going to be open or getting to the pharmacies tough because there's roving bands of leftists, Antifa or whoever, because they get so mad that Trump is reelected that all of a sudden they're like, oh no, burn it all down, and then you just can't go get your meds. Get them. I mean, chronic stuff. You got diabetes, cancer. They have options for you. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what you need, but at the very least, check it out. There's a partial list of infections treated with their life-saving medications. They've got their daily, backup prescription supplies. If there's ever time to get a backup prescription supply, now is the time. So jdrucker.com/meds, MEDS, jdrucker.com/meds, and use promo code Rucker10 at checkout. I'm sure you know this, but everybody over at MSNBC, like literally everybody, anybody that bring on the shows, anybody the show hosts themselves, the producers, the viewers, every single one of them, 100% of them hate you. They hate me because we don't hate Donald Trump, and they will do anything. They will stop at nothing to make you and me and anybody else feel this way they do. Somehow, in 10 seconds, this guy, and I have no idea who this guy is. I don't watch MSNBC, but Natalie Winters shared this clip, and I thought, my gosh, these people. These dumb watch, just watch 10 seconds.
So the laughable Donald Trump took a bullet for democracy versus a president who wants to put the country first.
Somehow he was able to squeeze in two massive lies in those 10 seconds. He has a great suit, by the way. I did like his suit tie combo. That was the only positive aspect of that entire 10 seconds. Otherwise, we were told two massive lies. Number one, it is not laughable that Donald Trump took a bullet for our nation. That's anybody who could laugh at that needs something very bad to happen to them. Number two, the notion that Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or any of their cronies put America's interests anywhere other than last, that's the laughable part. And here's the thing, and the reason I bring this up, I'm not trying to oh, look, here's another clip of MSNBC being idiots. My point is this, is that anybody who can watch stuff like that and still continue to watch it, who can't sit there and think, I mean, even a Democrat can sit there and think, wow, that's kind of harsh and wrong. Both of those lies are wrong. They can like Kamala because she's going to protect their ability to murder babies, but they can't honestly believe that she's going to do what's in the best interest of the United States. She hasn't done that for 3.5 years. There's no expectation, realistically, for her to do that anytime in the future. So for anybody to watch clips like that and to continue to watch MSNBC, they're done. I mean, don't even waste your time. Don't try to convince them of anything. They're brainwashed, they are completely indoctrinated, and they are lost. There's going to be a certain percentage of Americans that are just lost. And I don't know what MSNBC's hold is. I don't know if they've got 5%, 10%, 2%. It doesn't matter. If you come across a leftist and they say, yeah, I've been keeping up with the news. I know all about Trump. I know all about Kamala. Ask them, do you watch MSNBC? If they say yes, just say, okay, thank you very much. Move on. There's nothing you can do. Because if they don't have the discernment to recognize that what that guy said and what all of them, invariably, all of them say throughout their shows, throughout all the broadcasts 24/7, if they can't recognize that that's false, they're lost. I remember it was probably, I would say, a little over a decade ago, my wife and I got to experience some fantastic dining. Probably second best overall dining as far as an area. I'm not talking about one individual restaurant, but second best dining experience we ever had for an extended period of time was in San Francisco. The place was even back then, it wasn't exactly safe, but it wasn't the hellhole that it is today. Today it is a hellhole, period. San Francisco is a hellhole. I'll go ahead and say it. And I don't think anybody's going to deny me. As a matter of fact, when my daughters were going up there to visit, to explore for a day, I strongly considered taking the day and shadowing them, not even telling them, just following them up there and just kind of standing by, ready to go fight any of the drug addicts or whoever, gang members, homeless, I don't know, whoever. I denied it, and praise God, they returned unscathed. But still, it is a very dangerous place. It's crime-ridden. It's drug-ridden. It's poop-ridden. It's everything. And so it is not surprising that, according to an article over at the Daily Mail, Michelin star chef unleashes wild rant on ugly butt end. That's a quote. Ugly butt end Dem-run city as he's forced to shut restaurant in crime-ridden downtown. Now, they say location is everything. You got to pick a place that's going to be safe. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, places that should be safe, or at least used to be safe in San Francisco, are no longer safe. Even some of the quote unquote nice areas of this place that has been decimated by Democrat policies. Even the nice areas are horrible. According to the article, a Michelin-starred chef is to close his lauded seafood restaurant in San Francisco's crime-ridden downtown area just 2 years after opening. So it's not like he was able to be in there for decades and the place went to crap. It went to crap very fast. It's currently crapping even more as we speak. Aside from crime, Chef Peter Hemsley, who runs Aphotic City, cites the location of the venue as being part of the problem, while also depressingly noting how he does not see things getting better in the short term. And I would argue that unless there's major changes, it won't get better in the long term either. Hemsley cites being at the, quote, ugly butt end of a desolate convention center suckhole in the post-panty apocalypse. I like as also, let's just cut to what because his entire letter, forget the writing here. This is what he posted, I believe, on Facebook. A note from Chef Peter Hemsley. As all residents of San Francisco know, these are tough times for fine dining operators. There are few left in San Francisco that aspire to provide services like we do at Aphotic, and the smart and lucky ones in the pack are located in the right storefront on the right block and in the right part of this town. And to be clear, there aren't very many right parts of that town left, and those are in danger. In less than 2 years of Aphotic's existence, we have developed 4 comprehensive and completely original tasting menus, earned a Michelin star, a Michelin green star, and a Michelin distinction for accomplishments of the bar program. Now, to be clear, getting a Michelin star is extraordinarily difficult. Okay, if you're not aware, it is one of the toughest things. I mean, restaurants just dream of that possibility. Chefs both love and dread the potential for them to be selected to even get tested, rated secretly, of course. Yeah, so it's not like it's very easy, but in San Francisco, it's actually even a little bit harder. A place like San Francisco, New York, London, even though they have some amazing restaurants, it's sort of cliche. So a lot of times I would say they actually have a more difficult time getting their star based upon, or any star, based upon just being in an area that's known for stars. It's kind of like being in the 90s and being a band in Seattle, grunge band in Seattle. It's like, oh yeah, there's like 1,000 of them. So we're going to pick 3 or 4. Anyway, even in the right part of town, those would be huge accomplishments in the time frame for any operation. The fact that we all did this at the ugly butt end of a desolate convention center suckhole in the post-panty apocalypse is nothing short of a small miracle. And I believe in miracles. I have to, as a chef and a restaurant owner in these times, but I also know that miracles do not last forever. Our last service at Aphotic at 816 Folsom Street will be on Saturday, December 21st. I invite you all to help make this small miracle's last week's a bustling and happy window before the closure, celebrating our team's accomplishments while indulging in what we do best: seafood, cocktails, wine, and impeccable service splash. So yeah, so sad, but it's not just, let's state the obvious. We can look at San Francisco and look at the crime, but there is also a massive problem with the cost of living, which is driving even the very affluent in San Francisco, because it is such a quote-unquote rich city. It's driving them to eat out less, to do less, to be more conserving of their dollars. That's the state of affairs in the United States of America as a whole, and California in particular. And when you dive down into San Francisco, now you got the triple whammy of Democrat on Democrat on Democrat policies absolutely destroying it, raising crime, raising costs, destroying businesses, destroying greatness in the case of Aphotic. I've long said that this could be our last election. Elon Musk reiterated those sentiments over the weekend, and many people have been saying it, but the difference here is that I never said it. I've never said it before this election. A lot of these people will say, oh, this is our last election. They've been saying this since like 2008. Okay, we don't win this one. If Barack Obama wins, it's our last election. I remember hearing those words from very popular conservative commentators back then, and then again in 2012, again in 2014, midterm elections, 2016, of course, big time. 2018 wasn't so bad. I think a lot of people were complacent. 2020, you heard it a whole bunch. And then again in 2022, last election. Well, this is it. This truly is legitimately it. And what's different now, that's completely different from before, it's not just the state of America. We are in bad shape, as everybody knows, but we are America. This is still the United States of America. And we can and should be resilient and able to fight back even under poor worldwide conditions. The difference now, of course, is the illegal alien invasion. The last 4 years, the Biden-Harris regime has been importing both our economic demise as well as our electoral demise. We will not be able to win another election if we, being conservatives, patriots, populists, whatever you want to say. I'm not saying the Republicans, because it really is, we're working against the UniParty Swamp, which does include many, many Republicans. I'm talking about if the Democrats are able to win and be, I guess, the ruling arm of the UniParty Swamp, and continue to be so, I should say, then we will not have an opportunity to be able to stop the illegal aliens from stealing every election going forward. And they're focused right now, focused on one area. We know that this is not something accidental or some side effect. This is and will continue to be their plan until it is completed. At fire.com by Spencer Lindquist, the illegal immigrant population more than quintupled in swing states, go figure, since last election. According to the article, the illegal immigrant population has more than quintupled in key swing states since 2021, fueling concerns that mass immigration could impact the outcome of November elections. What? You're kidding me. A Market Watch report detailed the estimated increase in the illegal immigrant population in the 7 battleground states that will help decide the outcome of the presidential election between Trump and Harris. The drastic surge in the illegal immigrant population of key battleground states has added to concerns that the Democrat Party is using mass immigration to achieve political power, as recent immigrants vote overwhelmingly for Democrats. And to be clear, look, there's immigrants are fine. That's fine. Legal immigrants are fine. Let's call them illegal aliens because that's what they are. Illegal aliens should not be able to vote, and yet a recent survey, as good of a survey as you can get of illegal aliens, determined that 14% of them are already registered to vote. And that was a couple of months ago. How many are there today? We don't know, and we never will know because they're never going to report it. They're just going to say, "Oh, I don't know. I know nothing." Listen to these numbers. Michigan, which carries 15 electoral college votes, saw a 775% increase in its illegal alien population. This is since 2021, since Biden and Harris have been in charge. Arizona, 734%. Nevada, 562%. And Nevada already had a tremendously large illegal alien population. So for them to go up 562% is absolutely stunning. In Arizona, Trump allegedly lost by a mere 11,000 votes. In other words, 734% increase. We don't know what the raw numbers are. We'll get to some of those here in a second. But a 734% increase means that they are on the verge of being able to cheat even harder than they did in 2020. Wisconsin, Georgia, and North Carolina saw increases in their illegal immigrant population of 467, 401, and 446%, respectively. Pennsylvania, the all-important Pennsylvania, is there at 241%, which is still huge. You know, it's sad that it's like you look at all these numbers and it's like, oh, thank goodness Pennsylvania's only at a 241% increase in illegal aliens. That's great news compared to 775 in Michigan, for example. Skip ahead here. Spencer Lindquist tweeting, Soros-backed NGOs are leveraging mass immigration to sway the outcome of our elections. The New American Voters Project tracks demographics of key swing states as it seeks to build a new American majority. Here's how they could swing the election towards the Democrats. And again, they're claiming that these are newly naturalized citizens. But that is not an accurate representation of, number one, the voters, that they're the quote-unquote voters that they're going to be utilizing. We'll call them ballot mules. Okay, they're not even voters. They're just ballot mules. Hey, you know, go sign up to get a ballot. You know, you can fill it out if you're going to put Biden or Harris. I'm sorry, if you're going to put Harris, you can fill it out. If you don't know, just give it to us. Either way, we'll give you a gift card. We'll give you preferential treatment to whatever. I mean, I don't even know what they're using, but they are definitely, clearly, unambiguously, 100% certain that they are using something to motivate these illegal aliens, because otherwise, what's the point of sticking their neck out? There really is no point. You know, sure, we get the anecdotal interviews from some of these people at the border. They're like, oh, yeah, I love Biden, I love Harris, I hate Trump, whatever. Okay, but they're not going to stick their neck out. They would much rather just come into the country, get their free apartments in Maine, or get their free gift cards in New York, or get whatever they can for free, and just stay low profile, or go join a criminal gang or be part of a criminal gang already when they come across the border. That's their modus operandi. They're not trying to sit there and say, oh, I wonder how we're going to steal the election, but they are incentivized to help to steal the election. That's the whole purpose of all of this stuff. The illegal alien invasion is going to prevent us from having a free and fair election this time around, but this is nothing compared to what will happen if we lose. Trump keeps saying too big to win, or too big to rig, sorry. Too big to rig. I get it. I've said that, I'm kind of back and forth on that. Can we really do that? Yes, but only if we also do the other things, which is to fight the propaganda, and to do what we can to monitor, report, whatever, stop as much voter fraud as possible. We can win this election. I truly believe that. It will be up to God to allow that to happen. But if he does, we got this. We still have to do our part either way. So get out there and vote. Expose the propaganda, the gaslighting, the indoctrination, the brainwashing that's happening through corporate media and big tech and other venues. And yes, Fox News does count, by the way. And then 3, last but not least, do your part to stop voter fraud, stop this election from being stolen once again. Many, if not most of you, are very well aware that Mike Lindell and MyPillow are under attack. Mike often says that he is the second most attacked man in America, second only to, of course, Donald J. Trump, and that his company is the most attacked company in American history. I don't disagree on either count. He needs our help. He needs my help, and he needs, more importantly, your help to keep his company thriving, because it's through the revenue from his company that he's able to do the things that he does, to fight the good fight, to get out there and expose such things as rampant widespread voter fraud, which he unabashedly does despite lawsuits left and right and center and everywhere. Okay? Everybody's going after him, and I believe it is my responsibility to help him, and I think that it is your privilege. Not responsibility necessarily. You do what you do to take care of your family, but it is your privilege to also consider helping him as well. Whether you need a pillow, you probably already have pillows, but maybe you need dog beds. Look, I've got a dozen dog beds from MyPillow scattered around the house because I've got an aging dog. She likes to follow me around, so she always has to plop down wherever I go. so there's that. TMI. Go to mypillow.com/JDR. That's mypillow.com/JDR and get the maximum discount, the most discount that you can get at MyPillow by using promo code JDR. All right. If you are watching on Frank Speech, I will bid you adieu. I appreciate Frank Speech so much for everything that they do. And I wish I had more than 56 minutes. I've asked. They've got a lot of shows, so I've been trying to get more than my hour, trying to push to maybe even 2 hours. Who knows? Maybe if you contact the good folks over at Frank Speech and let them know. Otherwise, you can see me over at Worldview Tube, or you can always see the entire show, all the various shows combined, over on my Rumble channel at jdrucker.com/rumble. That's jdrucker.com/rumble. If you're watching on that channel, then just stay tuned. I'm just going to stay right here. Otherwise, I'll see y'all tomorrow. You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. My very first foray into conservative media actually happened when I was in high school. I was the editor of the school newspaper, and I also was in Young Conservatives, a high school group, and we wanted to put out a newsletter. And part of the newsletter we had was a joke section, some patriotic joke. We put one in every newsletter, and we called it Patriot Barry. Now, obviously, that would have different meaning today because of our 44th president sort of taking the word Barry and making it very much not associated with patriotism. So can't revive good old Patriot Barry anymore. But I do have a joke for you. I want to start this segment off with a joke. So these two advocates. One was a gun owners' rights advocate. The other one was a gun grabber. They were in a debate, and the gun grabber says, says, do you really think that the Second Amendment gives you the right to possess and to even utilize military-grade firearms for your own personal use? And the Second Amendment advocate says, no, of course not. My firearms are way better than military grade. But I'm bunch. All right. So it's probably the last Patriot, we'll call him Patriot Bob, last Patriot Bob portion of any segment of the JD Rucker Show. Comedy is not my thing, if you could not tell. So when we're looking at corporate media's influence over people, I think that arguably the most prevalent version of it today is how it affects, in particular, black voters, especially in urban areas. Now, we've seen, obviously, Donald Trump has made tremendous strides with black voters across the United States. He has been for the last 8 years. Okay, he continues to get better, and this year will be probably the best Republican black voter turnout in, I don't know, maybe ever. I don't know the stats. But there still is this corporate media hold over the mindset within the broader black community. And I don't know if there's any better better example of this than this video I'm about to show you. And this is from Fox News, and I have to reiterate, I mentioned this multiple times, and I'll keep mentioning it. Fox News is not on our side, to be clear. Okay, so do they sort of lean Republican when it comes to advocating for the UniParty Swamp, the Republican wing of the UniParty Swamp? Sure, but for the most part, they are controlled opposition. Again, I'm not talking about specific show hosts. I'm talking about the broader Fox News apparatus. Okay, the producers, definitely the news team, the news side of the ball. They lean left, and that's even after Chris Wallace left, right? The ownership, radical leftists. They were cheering after the 2020 election results were broadcast when they were able to say, look, we did it, Joe. No, that was Kamala Harris. It's hard to tell. Fox News owners, Kamala Harris, they share the same ideology. But watch this clip, and you'll see the cognitive dissonance in play.
I think it's better under Kamala. The economy is really crazy right now.
Definitely the price gouging. Groceries are high, rent is high, and taxes. I definitely think the regular working people shouldn't be paying as much taxes than the rich. So
food is high, gas is high, everything is high. We need to go ahead and bring that down. Everybody's struggling right now.
The food prices, the gas prices, it's crazy high.
And you think Kamala's gonna fix it?
Yeah, I do.
I think it's better under Kamala.
we're a lot of smart people here in Philly, and most people are going for Kamala because Kamala is speaking to the people who live and breathe here.
Trump. I'm trying to vote for him.
I just feel like that, he has like the rich community's best interest at heart. People who fall into those higher tax brackets. That's how I feel about him. And I just don't agree because I feel like he doesn't care about people who are middle class or low class.
Kamala just doesn't do anything. So Trump does a couple things that are wrong, but I think that Kamala just stands behind Biden.
I know she's been talking about like bringing down the cost of everything, just the cost of living. Even having like a place for someone to be able to live, like housing is scarce right now. People need resources. There's a lot of substance abuse going on. So yeah, those are very important topics.
She's right. Those are very important topics. Of course, she gets the rest of it wrong. Let's look at three things. Okay, three things that at least I take away from the video. Number one, I do blame corporate media for much of this. Granted, people should do their own thinking. They should definitely do their own research. Stop watching whoever, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, any of them. Do your own research. Listen to people who are actually trying to save the nation. Stop listening to the people that are actively working on behalf of the UniParty Swamp to try to indoctrinate you into believing that the actions that they're taking to harm average American citizens are actually somehow helping. All you have to do is look at, I'll consider three things. Number one, who is backing Kamala Harris? It is big banks. It is the ultra rich. It is Hollywood. The people who do not get affected if she tanks the economy. Those are the people that are backing her because they know that when she tanks the economy, that's actually going to help them. Okay, just as they have helped. They, being Biden Harris, have helped billionaires. And they've helped make more millionaires and more billionaires while keeping the middle and lower classes down as much as possible for the last 4 years. You can't deny it. I mean, the statistics are there. The facts are there. Yeah, look at that and say, well, I wonder, what she has been doing the last 3.5 years to fix this, because it's not working, whatever it is. Number two, if you were to compare her economic plan to Biden's economic plan, they are almost identical. There is one major exception, though. There's one thing that Kamala's plan talks about even more than Joe Biden's plan, and that is assistance for illegal aliens. I know that sounds crazy, right? It's like, how could we're already giving so much. We're taking away from underprivileged communities for the most part. It's not like they're pulling away from all the rich people, right? Oh yeah, we're totally gonna get in there and tax the heck out of them and nobody else. If you're one of those rich people making like over $4,000 a year, then you're gonna get taxed. But if you're poor, or if you have no job, or if you have anything at all, or nothing at all, if you're an illegal alien, we're gonna take care of you. That is, her plan is very much in line with the open borders policy that they have enacted over the last 4 years. And then number three, and this is arguably most important, when it comes to cognitive dissonance, let's look at reality. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? It's the line from Reagan. Reagan used it against Jimmy Carter, and obviously it worked. Well, let's use that today. Do you really think that under Kamala Harris, when they call it Bidenomics, it is Kamalanomics, okay? Do you really think that Joe Biden has had anything to do with his government for the last 4 years? It's been a combination of Kamala Harris and Dr. Taco Jill Biden. They have been essentially running the country and running it into the ground, as you've seen. So why would you think that if you give her official power more so than what she already has today? Because she has the power today to fix this, and she's not. If you give her more power, that suddenly, now she's definitely going to fix it. No, her plans are awful, and you were doing better off pre-COVID under the Donald Trump economy. You just were. I don't care who you are. Okay, you might say, I'm making more money today. Sure, but you're spending twice as much as you were back then. You might be making 20% higher, but you're paying 120% more. So are you really doing any better? No, you're not. No, you're not. This message goes out to all voters, but in particular, black voters, especially in urban areas. Guys, do not fall for the narratives of corporate media. Do not fall for the lies that the Democrat Party has been spewing for decades. Look at reality, do your own research, look at the facts, and then come to the right decision. Should be pretty easy. So the question then becomes why? Why does this work? Why is it that people who have been Democrats perhaps for years, maybe even decades, why are so few of them coming across? We look at it and we're like, oh my gosh, look at the numbers. Numbers are skyrocketing. But we're still only talking about 4 or 5% of the Democrat Party that's willing to acknowledge that they were wrong. I turned to, and I don't know this lady's name. She's very smart, apparently, and she says her name in the video. So let's just play the video. But keep this in mind, because it's not going to be easy. We have the facts on our side. They have the emotion, and it's even manufactured emotion. It's not real emotion. The Democrats' use of emotion is to try to make you concerned about our democracy, which we don't even have a democracy. But hey, they want you to be concerned about it. And can you really be concerned about the future of democracy when you're not able to pay the bills? That's the question that we need to have them answer. We already know the answer. Now we've got to get other people to answer, but it's going to be difficult. And there is a psychological reason why that's the case.
Why is it so hard to change someone's mind? Let's talk about it. If you're new to my channel, I'm of course Rachel, the neuroscientist. The brain really doesn't like changing its mind, and that gives rise to things like the confirmation bias, anchoring bias, Confirmation bias means that we'll actually selectively filter out information that is incongruent with our existing beliefs. Even if we do process that information, we'll give it a lot less weight than we would with something that actually aligns with our existing ideas. Anchoring bias is where we hold on to the very first thing that we learn about something, and it's hard for us to let go of that, even when we're presented with evidence that suggests that it's not accurate. What a terrible design! Why are we like this? Well, neuroscientifically speaking, once you learn something, your brain has to restructure and rewire itself. We also instinctively perceive change, uncertainty, unpredictability as inherently dangerous. Sticking to what's familiar can obviously serve as an evolutionary advantage. The last and perhaps more psychological component of that is that our ideas tend to be tethered to our identity, and the brain really doesn't like threats to identity. Your sense of self involves so many different structures, memories, processes in the brain. To rewrite that would be very complicated, and in the daily struggle for survival, potentially fatal.
Well, now you know. So that doesn't mean we have a license to stop. Okay, we still have to keep trying. We still have to try to reach as many people as we can. Perhaps knowing this, you'll have a better understanding of why it can be difficult, even in the face of obvious facts. Sometimes people are just unwilling to see it. And that's because it's going to take, in some cases, shattering somebody's worldview. And we've seen this happen. We've seen a lot of people that have come around to the conclusion that they were lied to. And that's really in our favor. That is our biggest advantage. We need to take the lies that are being told, the lies that are debunked, and I love to use, of course, the Charlottesville video, playing the entire video to somebody who thinks that Trump's a racist because he thinks that people have, that they're very fine Nazis or whatever, showing them the entire clip. That can be powerful because it does tell them that they really have been lied to by multiple people in corporate media and in the Democrat Party. So we love that. We do have more than just the economy. I know it's crazy. More than the economy and the border crisis. Those are two huge issues. I've said that if we focus on those, that's going to get the wins. And I still stand by that. But there are going to be times when people they realize that the economy's bad. They realize the legal alien, the border invasion is horrible. And yet they're still not quite there understanding what it is that, they can't get over the hatred for Trump or the hatred for the Republican Party or, maybe the hatred for freedom. Or maybe, just maybe, they don't understand how much freedom is actually at stake. David Strom over at Hot Air posted an article, "Censorship is the biggest issue in this election." And I'll disagree with the premise, but let's give him a chance, though. Okay, let's give him a chance. There's a lot at stake in this election cycle, as you all know. But in my mind, the make-or-break issue is protecting the First Amendment and, by extension, the Constitution and our freedoms. Yes, the border matters immensely. Yes, the U.S. is embroiled in wars abroad that should never have broken out. But without freedom of speech and the ability to break the near monopoly on information distribution, our country will be gone. We won't even have a fighting chance. Before you say the Supreme Court will save us, recall that the Democrats have been agitating to expand the court and pack it with leftists. Countless articles have been written to delegitimize the court, and Democrats in Congress and in the Biden administration have been laying the groundwork to nullify the independence of the court. We can't predict whether they will succeed, but by the time the Supreme Court hears a case, the censorship regime will be fully in place. Freedom of speech is under coordinated attack across the West. The UN is pushing it. The World Economic Forum has it in its sights, naming disinformation as the greatest threat, eclipsing war, famine, and epidemics. And of course, they don't mention climate change in there because that's kind of like a given that they put that at the very top. The European Union is at war with freedom of speech, even demanding that Twitter, X, now not platform Donald Trump at all. It was a stunning display of arrogance, and the Biden-Harris administration... Sorry, I'm so used to saying regime. When it says administration, I get caught up on the word. I don't consider this an administration. It really is a regime. The Biden-Harris regime seemed more than fine with it. No pushback at all. And that was back oh no, that's actually very recent. And yeah, Hillary. In the past few weeks, Hillary Clinton has bemoaned that without total control, we baddies have a voice, so she votes for total control. Can't be us. We can't speak. We're wrong in their books, or at least that's what the powers that be want the nation and the world to believe. John Kerry declared the First Amendment to be an obstacle to the transnational elite's war on the free market. Let's get past that. Both Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have called for limits to our speech, declaring that the federal government should have the right to shut up American citizens. Tim Walz defended silencing people, falsely claiming we have no right to say things he considers hate speech or disinformation. As you know by now, everything the Democrats don't like is hate speech or disinformation. So, Walz is both wrong on the Constitution and promoting a totalitarian vision in which technocrats and politicians decide what can be said. If the past few years have taught us anything, is that the government, the experts, and media figures spread lies and hoaxes while declaring all dissent to be misinformation. Remember, sharp as a tack? That was Joe Biden, by the way. Remember, safe and effective? Yes, the jabs. Prevent infection and transmission? The masks. Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation. The Steele dossier proved Trump is a Russian asset with a pee fetish? Yes, these are all things that corporate media, Democrats, the UniParty Swamp, not just Democrats, the UniParty Swamp, and these technocrats have been saying. And once you throw in the experts, such as the military-industrial complex and intelligence services, they're experts claiming that the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation, or you've got doctors out there saying, oh yes, no, these vaccines are totally safe and perfected. They're perfect. They're perfect, safe and effective. 100%, no wait, 99%, wait, 93%, no, 92%. Oh my gosh, it's at 88%, it's at 74%. Well, they will reduce your chances of hospitalization. No, they won't. Okay, well, just do it. Because we did it. And granted, you've gotten COVID less than us, but just do it. So maybe he's right. I don't know. Maybe David convinced me that the First Amendment, the attack on free speech, freedom of expression, freedom of thought, that might really truly be the biggest issue. Might not be the biggest driver of votes. It obviously won't be when you have an open border and a crumbling economy. But as far as what is at stake, he may be right. The election is nearly upon us. Will there be any major October surprises yet to be unleashed? We will see. One thing people always ask me, because they know I've now apparently built up a reputation as being knowledgeable about gold and silver and retirement accounts and all that good stuff. People ask me which is going to be better for gold and silver, Trump or Kamala. And I said, look, number one, don't take that into consideration, because either will be good for gold. Lest we forget, gold jumped up like 51% during Trump's first term. So don't say, oh, well, if Trump wins, it's going to be bad for gold. That's not true. That's just not true. There's a reason why analysts, even with Trump projected to win, there's a reason why analysts are still looking at gold hitting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per ounce, possibly in the future. Now, I'm not an economic advisor, so I'm not going to try to give you advice, but I will tell you this, that there are many, many Americans who are moving their wealth, their retirement, their life's savings to physical precious metals. And the one company that you should do that with, in my humble opinion, is Genesis Gold Group. This is a faith-driven company. Okay, I can't get around that. This is they are unabashedly faith-driven. They're unabashedly America first. These guys aren't rooting for Kamala, even though Kamala, yes, will Kamala be good for gold in the short term? You betcha. Will she be good for the economy long term? Absolutely not. Not even short term, not at all. So that's why they're like, you know what? We Trump. Believe it or not, a lot of the gold companies that these conservative show hosts are promoting, they back the Democrats. I know that sounds crazy, but they do, because it behooves them when Democrats are in office. So check out Genesis Gold Group. You can go to my personal website for them at jdrgold.com. That's jdrgold.com. You'll get a free wealth protection kit, a gold guide, the definitive 2025 gold guide. You'll get all this stuff. So check it out, jdrgold.com. I've got a clip of Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre debunking Karine Jean-Pierre, and we'll play that here in a second because, yeah, obviously today I'm talking quite a bit about media, blaming their interactions with the UniParty Swamp, Democrat Party, the White House, the Harris campaign, especially as it pertains to a lot of these negative things, such as what's happening in North Carolina, Tennessee, and other states where American citizens are having to step up to try to get around government in order to help save lives. You would think that it would be sort of the other way around, right? Maybe the government is trying to do what they can to help, and they're just being hampered by efforts of American citizens. We've seen examples of that in the past, but it's not very often. And when I say we've seen examples, I can't think of one off the top of my head. So maybe there are no examples. But I'm going to play that, showing Jean-Pierre versus Jean-Pierre, and it's pretty funny. But before I do, a quick story. I got a call over the weekend from my one of my partners at worldviewbeef.com. And he was telling me, man, you said that as soon as the port strike was over, that you would cancel your 35% off, you'd revert your promo code JDR to a much lower level. He said, we're losing money every time we sell from this. I understand you wanted to help out during the port strike. We thought it could go on indefinitely, and that would cripple the economy. You're just trying to help out. I get it, but we're running a business here, man. So I need you to go ahead and change that. I said, well, I got one more show today, and I did tell people that we were doing it, until I said, so I got to at least give them notice, right? And he's like, okay, then immediately after the show, you can change it. I said, I will change it back sometime after the show, probably today. He's like, probably. I was like, yeah, as soon as I can, I'll get in there and revert my promo code back to the much lower level. But in the meantime, I have to tell the people that if you go to worldviewbeef.com and use promo code JDR, you will get 35% off until I am able to hop in there and fix things. So let's play that video by whoever, but this video of Karine Jean-Pierre debunking herself.
No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
So that's what they've got. That's what the Democrats have. All they have are lies. Everything. Think about it. Okay, everything they do, especially when it comes to virtues, they are quick to roll out the great virtue signaling efforts and stuff. You remember, every single Democrat was in favor of defunding the police, and then all of a sudden, once it actually started happening in some places, you had those same exact Democrats. Many of them were saying, oh my gosh, we need to improve the police presence. This is outrageous, and it's like, wait a second, you literally defunded them. You literally pulled resources from them, and now that it's hitting your neighborhood, your area, your neck of the woods, now that you're getting hit by crime, all of a sudden you're going to blame the cops? I mean, but that's what they've got. They just, oh yeah, no, we're totally going to use FEMA for helping illegal aliens to invade our nation. We're such good, nice people. We love Joe Biden, love Kamala Harris for their kindness. And then, well, no, we never actually did that. That's a lie. As a matter of fact, it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the one that said all that. Donald Trump's the one that took funds from FEMA and gave it to illegal aliens. Trust me, I'm the press secretary. Man. That was my greatest impersonation of Karine Jean-Pierre that I've ever been able to pull off. It hurt my throat to even do it. That's how bad it was. But I mean, it's just straight up 1984 stuff. Okay, Oceania was at war with East Asia. Oceania has always been at war with East Asia, at least according to the Biden-Harris regime. This is it really is some George Orwell creeping into our nation. And I smile and I chuckle, and you might laugh and chuckle, but this is serious stuff, folks, serious stuff. And it's sad that that this is the state of the United States right now. This is what we have. This is what we're dealing with. So when we say what's the most important issue, is it the economy? Yes. Is it the border invasion? Yes. Is it free speech? Yes. Is it just expecting the government to do the few things that we actually do want it to do? Because as far as I'm concerned, they do far, 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 far too much. Cut it by 98% or more, in my humble opinion. But that's just me. But there are certain things that they should probably, I don't know, get involved with, such as helping to save American citizens who are in dire situations, who are in life and death situations, and they have the resources, but they don't, or at least they pretend like they don't. Again, I'm not buying it. I think that they could hop in there and they could get this problem fixed up pretty darn quickly if they actually wanted to, but they don't want to, and we need to ask why. And if you think, oh, you know what, I heard on CNN that all these, that this whole FEMA thing, that's just a right-wing conspiracy. Let's listen to this. These are people on the ground, men on the ground, citizens, trying to help their fellow citizens and trying to do so in spite of government. It's not just the fact that government isn't helping, it's that they're actually hurting. They're hurting the efforts. It's stupid.
People have lost everything. There's nothing here.
We're 9 days post-hurricane, and that was the first FEMA drop I've seen here in the Swannanoa area. I haven't seen a FEMA agent yet. This is all local volunteers from abroad, as far as Washington State, are coming out here to help and pick up the slack that's been left behind from our government.
You know, and President Trump, he's not even in office, but yet he's still getting a Starlink. He's doing his best. He's shaking all the trees.
If we're talking about federal assistance, I didn't see my first FEMA truck until, what is today, Saturday? I didn't see my first FEMA truck until Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. And all I saw was a FEMA truck with a satellite on it, parked in a corner underneath some shade trees in a parking lot with no signage, no information. I don't know why they're there.
The word from the people that we talk to, and they say, when we say, who else has been here, can we help, maybe we can work together, they're like, you're the first ones, or the only other people that have helped us is another private, citizens that are just basically our neighbors or our friends trying to help us. They hadn't seen anyone from the federal government yet.
When our vice president talks on the TV about $750 for FEMA, yeah, that's not good.
The only information that I've gotten about FEMA actions on the ground has been an attempt to sort of stop some of the volunteer efforts, especially, there's a medical support trailer that's here by volunteers. They have doctors and registered nurses. They're all licensed doctors and registered nurses. They were told they couldn't do what they were doing because it was not being federally controlled or something along those lines.
I've seen one helo come in, and I was told that was FEMA, and that was it.
Today was the first FEMA delivery that I've seen or I've heard of in the entire region.
There you have it. Boots on the ground, American citizens helping each other and lambasting the federal government's response or lack thereof. It would be better if they just didn't respond. If they just said, you know what, y'all are on your own. Okay, great. Well, fine. We'll take care of it. And then we would. People would step up. Americans would step up. But they're saying, no, we've got this. We just don't got this. But you can't get it either because we're going to stop you. What is going on? There's a conspiracy here. The more I talk about it, the more I realize, yes, there's definitely something afoot, something beyond just incompetence. We cannot just say, oh, they're just dumb. Glenn Beck did a show over the weekend, might have been last week, but I think it was over the weekend. He did a show where he went down, visited. He talked to FEMA. He talked to people on the ground. He got more fired up than I've seen him get fired up in a long time. He was pissed. He was legitimately angry at what was being done and what was not being done for fellow American citizens. Pray for them. Find good charities to support. Go down there if you can. If you got the resources, if you can help, get down there and help. By all means, and get ready because it's going to get even worse. We got Melton coming. He's got its sights set on Florida. Hopefully Ron DeSantis and his team are ready to go. Gosh. Just keeps happening. Maybe that's it. Maybe the storm is set to disrupt the election. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, you all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless. For the last 4 years, coincidentally lining up with the Biden-Harris regime, for the last 4 years, it has made sense to a whole bunch of Americans to move their wealth or their retirement over to physical precious metals. This is a good thing. Okay, and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just telling you that it's happening. A lot of Americans are doing it, and they know why they're doing it. Between de-dollarization, inflation, the potential for recession, everything that's going on, the turmoil that's going to come with the presidential election, regardless of who wins, by the way, there's going to be economic turmoil before, during, and after the election. We know this. This is coming. So a lot of people are trying to find the higher ground of physical precious metals. The challenge there is that not all gold companies are made the same. Look, I know that you might seem like they are. It seems like, everybody's got their conservative commentators that promote them. The difference between me and these other conservative commentators and show hosts and whatever is that I actually did my research. And unfortunately, I've come to the conclusion that the other ones could not have, because if they did, many of them, not 100%, but a lot of them, if they did their research, if they knew exactly what they were promoting, there was no way they would touch these companies with a 10-foot pole. A lot of these companies are promoting their gold and silver, but they're doing so at huge markups. I mean, we're talking sometimes over 100% markup on the gold and silver they're putting into gold IRAs. I work with a faith-driven company, Genesis Gold Group, and they do not charge enormous premiums on top of the gold in order to get you your $10,000 in free silver or whatever gimmick is being pushed. They just deal with you directly, honestly, from a faith-driven perspective. This is the only company I've ever seen in the industry that actually will sit there and pray with you. So check them out. See if they can help you. Go to rumblegold.com, and see what Genesis Gold Group can do for you today.